Hi, welcome. In this video, this is part two of my response by way again of the podcast that Bill Church had, Larry on Joel. Again, on the heels of the controversy involving the International Association of Canine Professionals, which represents a balanced dog training association, and all the confusion, controversy over the role of punishment. And now again, you had the video put out by the president of this association, where again Dylan Jones, right, calling him out. In fact, I put it up on my thing, calling him a hack. And so this is again just prior to again the conference about to happen. Okay, so again, this is nothing new. I talk about all the controversies that are happening, why they're happening. So in this podcast here, going through and just kind of focusing in on some of the controversy, the talking points, but again, talking about what the source of the problem is. So again, let's play some more of this to talk through some of these controversies.
Motion picture of the birds. He was a really good bird trainer. Did Jonathan Livingston Seagull did all this stuff, but he also did was a really good dog trainer. But he used positive reinforcement, and Ray was the only guy that was using positive reinforcement. I learned from Ray Berwick and Brian Renfro, a buddy of mine who's some of you guys probably know. And so I learned that style. But there were some things that I learned from these other guys. I didn't necessarily hang my hat on it, but there was some of the stuff that they did on, getting snarls, how they got snarls, how they got dogs to snarl, to really, really show a lot of teeth and stuff like that. I mean, stuff that I could never do on my own. It was like, okay, I saw how they did it, and stuff. And just, and there's things that we did. It's not my style, but I did it, did a shot.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, man, is not only do we can we learn from others, but we also got to learn from these dogs too. And I think that people, they get locked in.
So you talk about locked in. They're locked in. Okay, understand that, when you identify as a balanced trainer, as a force-free trainer, that's your identity. Okay, that is a locking in. Okay, that's saying, hey, I agree. It's like signing a contract. This is how I'm going to do training. This is what I agree a process is. Learning-based exercise. This is what I agree to, what I'm focused on, what the picture is. And see, that's the locking in right there. So when these trainers start bringing up, well, always learning, but it's like the scripture, always learning, but never coming to a understanding what the truth is. That's really what's going on here. It's a type of stronghold. It's a identity crisis. I talk about this often in dog training world, because to accept what I'm saying requires a trade-off. You got to humble yourself. Okay. And these trainers are so full of ego, so full of pride. That's really what's going on. And the reason I can say that is the response to what the truth is. In light of the problems. I mean, I say your starting point should be looking at all the controversies, including this one, and saying, why is this happening in the first place? Like, what is going on here? And so these trainers, again, this is a human problem. This is not a dog problem that way. I mean, dogs just follow the path of nature. I mean, these trainers are in conflict with that, are in conflict with nature itself. They're like, you know what? I'm going to make my crooked path straight. I'm not going to look at the controversies. I'm just going to keep pushing this. And then the fallout effect, right? Blame shifting on the dogs, all of the stuff you're seeing on social media. Now you're seeing this association, right? Really, like in a major speed wobble.
On a philosophy, and they forget to look at that individual dog. And I know that there's a cliche working with the dog at the end of the leash, but we got to see the results, man. And that's one thing about Dylan that I cannot deny is the results.
Listen, Dylan's not the guy in person that people make him out to be online. But you also, and the reason I'm so vocal about this is because I'm not taking any side. I'm going to be honest about the whole thing. And people don't like the fact that I back him. I'm always going to put the dog first. And that's what he's doing.
Well, I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Okay. You say about these trainers say about putting the dog first. If you would put the dog first, then you would actually be motivated to figure out what the source of the problem, especially where so many people are ending up with a counterfeit picture of change. So this is, again, these trainers have lots, they say things, but their actions don't line up, because it's impossible to market this ideology that, sets in motion a counterfeit picture for so many. And I break that down as to why, ethically and morally. I mean, it's a total contradiction. So to even talk about ethics in the dog training world, that conversation can't even happen, right? Because it's all upside down. So here he talks about Dylan's a different person, social media. Well, I'd say it's about what he identifies with. That's what's motivating him to put that stuff up, right? So he's calling out the just posted a thing there calling out the president as a dog training hack. So
And he's not doing the things that people are claiming, but they forget why he's so angry. Like the shit that he had to put up with, I've had to put up with before in the past too. And then you have the big names in the balance world that don't say anything, but then they want to put these big name force-free trainers on a pedestal. Can't we all get along and be?
so he's talking about putting the big name force free training. He does that. Okay. He's in agreement with all of these concepts. In one video, he called himself a purely positive, balanced dog trainer. I mean, and he plays both sides of the fence. So you talk about compromise, you talk about playing all sides of the fence. I mean, Krohn is that guy. I mean, just understand that. I mean, you know, telling people what they want to hear.
Friends, no, fuck you. Fuck you. It's too late for that because we went through hell. I have, he has, other people have, and you motherfuckers are silent. So suck a dick, okay? That's why he's fucking.
So this guy reminds me of Christopher Upton because on this you can see him drinking his bourbon. So the more the drinks get going, the more the trash talk escalates. I mean that's just how it works. So pay attention as we go along here.
Angry. So I get it. And I'm not justifying that. The reason I had to separate myself, there's certain things I can't get behind that he says, and he knows that. I'm honest about it. Yeah. Right? I'm not angry at him. I love what he's doing. And I hope he keeps teaching people because he's teaching the right way.
Of course he loves it. Both of them got bite suits on, allowing aggressive dogs to bite into the bite suit as a way to deal with aggressive dogs. Totally wrong. Okay, so these trainers are all mixed up in their confused ideology.
Okay, he's teaching exactly like a lot of the things that we get. Let's put it this way. I just got back from South Dakota. I've been one seminar after another for the past 2 months, right? The ultimate compliment, there's a lot of things that I get filled with pride when people tell me, and people tell me amazing things at the end of seminars, very personal things. But there's one thing I can't stress enough. There was a woman there that took a lot of notes and asked a lot of questions, right? She was really into the whole thing. And then at the end, like she couldn't be more over the top, complimentary, and just, I can't believe, like so excited. And then the host, I think it was, who said, tell him she's a force-free trainer. She's a positive only trainer. Just got certified for CP, DT, whatever it says. But our world was so something different to what she imagined than seeing me, who, by the way, 3 days of going deep into punishment, seeing it in different ways, giving different explanations, and watching these dogs just be crazy about me and just.
There's that compromise, right? And Krohn will do that, saying, well, like he walks the fence. But again, understand that there's no walk in the fence here. When you understand what the force-free agenda is, right? They want you, to bow down, okay, fully. There's no, there's the illusion as though you can survive it. That's why do you think all the controversy is happening right now by way of, punishment? All these controversies. So he tries, understand he wants to be the compromiser or the guy that, people will, figure things out. But again, you go, it's all confusion. That's all this is. He's playing into the lie of what, these trainers are marketing. And so it's just it's appearance based. But he's like Zach George in a lot of ways. He really is. He's very Zach George like. He calls himself a balanced dog trainer, but there's no even balanced dog trainers. They can't even agree with each other. I mean, so the dog training world's in a mess for a reason.
Want to be with me, you're taking someone who's a force-free certified trainer, open to sit in my seminar and go, holy shit, my mind is blown. Like, I can't believe and that's not the first time. And I'm not a force-free trainer. I don't shy away from tools, right? But it happened years ago, the first time I talk about this. I had a young lady come up to me at lunchtime first day, and she said, I just want you to know I came here to hate you. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, she was from a group, a force-free group, and came to interrupt things, shut things down. And she's like, this isn't what I expected.
See, he loves this. You know what I'm saying? He loves playing the fence. But that's the problem, right? It's just like you see him with his. I put up lots of videos about Krohn, right? It's just he plays off the confusion. That's all he does. And he's a marketer. He's like a social media influencer. And regardless of what he says, he says things. Oh, I don't care if I'm popular. Well, that goes against with him trying to jump on every podcast possible and put himself out there that way. But he just plays it. That's all he's doing here.
Mm.
And guess what? She made the switch. When people understand
Switch to more
punishment, that's just the
confusion.
one subject we're talking about, right? They see the dog world and dealing with difficult behaviors on a whole different level because it gives you the ability to deal with these things so much easier than what people do now. Because if you fall for those definitions of the 4 quadrants and people could recite them in their sleep, you're going to fail because they don't tell the whole truth. You're missing out on so much. So you want to learn this stuff? I teach it. Jay teaches it. Dylan teaches it. We all learned on a deeper level from Ivan, and there's others out there teaching it too. But these fuckers on Facebook just want an answer. Is it this? No, you wouldn't get it because people who witness it in many different shapes and forms really struggle with it because they overthink it so much, and everyone's been brainwashed to believe that punishment just equals force. Okay, that didn't work. Go a little harder. That stopped working now. Go a little harder. I showed a video 3 weeks ago with the female shepherd, right? Almost every board and train I get is for dog aggression, almost always German shepherds. And every time I take it out into the public, starts off in my neighborhood for the first time, the dog's on a 27-foot retractable leash. You never see the dogs care about dogs anymore. I allow the dog to make the choice. You never see them failing.
See, there's the problem. So it's all about, again, we talk about free will and choices. Control, okay, offers up a false image of change with dogs. You understand that. That's what these trainers play off of. So you talk about the retractable leash, the 50-foot leash. Yeah, dog has, the freedom, right? But the dog's there for a reason. It's there because of a relationship problem. And so, when you talk about the role of control and influence, understand it's not reconciled through Krohn's approach. So appearance based, it's a cautionary tale. So you have these trainers say, "Oh, this dog is better here." Well, based on what exactly? What's your test to actually assess a dog properly? It's not, because it's not part of how they're doing this. And they try to again get people to buy into it because he's playing into people's emotions that way. Understand that.
People will say things like, well, try that with an actually aggressive dog, right? Try that with my dog. And even though the owners will jump on and say, hey, 7 years I haven't walked this dog, I can't.
See, because again, you start, he's talking about the 50-foot, leash, right? You start to define, start to, bring those core ingredients into focus, right? Alignment, proper alignment. Okay. That's the right conversation. Then you're going to see the real deal. Put a dog on a 50-foot line, right? The theme of bribery, accommodation, negotiation is going to give you a false image of change. These trainers play that. Understand they play that all the time. And it's very easy to be popular that way, right? People are going to be, oh, wow, that's great. It's not great at all. This is the problem here with these trainers. This is why all the confusion.
Like, this dog is really bad, right? So I said, you know what? Or other people will say, well, what did you do to get there? And I say, I showed you everything. I filmed everything and posted it. No, I only see you playing with the dog. If that's all you're seeing, then you're missing the whole big picture. You're missing everything. So 3 weeks ago, I took another dog, German Shepherd, highly dog aggressive, very, very driven, strong, working line shepherd. And I said, I'm going to take this dog out in the first week when she's not ready. Because normally I don't take the dogs out for 2 or 3 weeks. Because by the time I put them in that situation, if I have to tell them, hey, I don't like that, they go, oh, shit, okay, I get it, right? But instead, I took her out too soon. We were talking to the camera. The dog took off to go after a dog. The dog surprised us. I marked that behavior. No. I interrupted.
So hear that word behavior. It's an express state. So you say, mark that behavior. Okay. He's not dialed into, that's why control is manifesting. So these trainers are in a reactive posture. Okay. That word behaviors is misapplied.
It with the e-collar on an aversive level. You hear the dog let out a little yip and come flying back to me. That part where that dog comes back to me, that's where 99.9% of the people will praise that, reward that, or even just continue on. And that's why they fail over and over and over. I didn't. That's where the punishment actually began, and I showed it. But this time it was through the leash. I made it personal. I put a lot of social pressure on that dog, letting her know I wasn't happy with that choice. And then I let her know, hey, we're good. Now let's continue, right? Completely different of what everyone else does. But the important part was what happened 2 houses down at a more difficult spot where you have the underground fence and dogs are charging. You see her hair stand up. She starts locking in on the dogs. Again, this is where the inexperienced try to interrupt that. No, come, this, hit the e-collar, this and that, never allowing the dog to make the choice. I did nothing. What did she do? She looked at me and said, nice job, girl. And then she pranced by as proud as could be.
Well, perceptions aren't always reality. Understand that, again, control, fulfillment. You know what I'm saying? This is the whole thing about appearances. This is why when you're bouncing back and forth between, like bouncing back and forth between two parenting styles, authoritative and permissive. When you're caught in that type of loop, understand that this is where you can have moments where you see these trainers petting on dogs in certain moments, or even in terms of that, in terms of trying to assess that to say, is that good or bad? I understand the core ingredients, they have to be reconciled throughout the process. They have to be established. The integrity of that has to be a certain way, right? To not just get the right information to change, but for change itself. So you hear these trainers talk about all this, and then I gave her the choice. Well, the stinking thinking part, okay, when you have an ongoing relationship problem and you're in the middle of it, and you start to waver that way, you go back and forth, understand that oftentimes what happens is that dog will look a certain way and still not be. And you'll be thinking, oh, okay, I corrected the dog, I used the remote collar here, put the dog out in the 50-foot line again. Oh, it looks great walking by those dogs. That dog's still holding a high level of control. Okay, that's the problem here with these trainers. They don't understand that. And they just want to, again, showcase certain things. That's a problem. It's got to be the integrity of that conversation has to be come together a certain way and maintain that level of integrity over a period of time to know. Okay, you want to be able to trust the picture, and especially considering, okay, you look at the statements made by this trainer, I profile those, rewarding bad behavior to create good behavior. That represents total confusion. That one statement alone. Okay, not dialed in. These trainers are not dialed in the way I talk about. That's a big deal. So here I'm going to stop this part 2 here, keep them within about 20-minute segments here. So stay tuned for part 3.